Good morning and welcome to day 2 of HBCU week. The White House Office of Public Engagement works at the local, state, and national levels to ensure community leaders, diverse perspectives, and new voices all have the opportunity to inform the work of the president. Please welcome to the stage Assistant to the President, Senior Advisor to the President, and Director of the Office of Public Engagement, Mayor Steve Benjamin.
Good morning to all of you. Some of you might not be used to seeing me with glasses. I don't need them, but I can't see without them, so I'm gonna put them on. It's an incredible day yesterday, and the president was moved by the warm welcome he received from all of you. But you've heard from the boss, you've heard from my dear friend, Secretary Cardona, and also Director Tandon. You even heard a word from Reverend Dr. Deacon President Chairman Tony Allen do his thing. He even had, I could just leave. He even had the Noops strolling yesterday. I think we're good with that. So I'm not going to spend my time today talking about the record amounts of investment and partnership. You're going to have some cabinet secretaries share a word with you. I'm just going to tell you a brief story, and I'm going to take my seat. All right? It's Tuesday morning, June 22nd, 1954. A young woman named Sarah Mae Fleming, a domestic worker, is standing on the corner of Washington and Main Streets in my hometown of Columbia, South Carolina, waiting for a bus to take her to work. Her 21st birthday is just 6 days away. And maybe that's what she's thinking about, wondering if someone's gonna plan a party for her, if she's gonna get some time off. Maybe she's thinking about the weather, the thick, humid heat that covers our state from May to September. Maybe she's just preoccupied with the task at hand, planning the workday ahead of her. Just a few weeks earlier, the United States Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, had issued its historic ruling in Brown versus Board of Education, overturned nearly 60 years of precedent, and declaring for the first time in American history that the old segregationist principle of separate but equal was unconstitutional. So it's possible she was thinking about that. But she never could have imagined that in less than 2 years, that Chief Justice Warren would know her name, that the Supreme Court would be deciding her fate, and that her action would echo across history and the nation. It's Tuesday morning, June 22nd, 1954, and Sarah Mae Fleming can't possibly imagine what's about to happen when she steps on that bus and takes the only open seat that she can find. She doesn't see it coming, the outrage and the humiliation, the shouting insults and assault, the clenched fists plunging into her gut. She doesn't see it coming, but neither did they. They couldn't have imagined this young woman from Eastover, South Carolina, beaten and cast aside, would have the courage to get back up, the audacity to sue the bus company, and the steel spine to see it through, laying the foundation in action and law for another woman in Montgomery, Alabama, named Rosa Parks the next year. You see, Sarah Mae Fleming wasn't looking for a fight, she wasn't looking for a cause, and she wasn't looking for history. History found her, and she chose to act. In the good book, the prophet Isaiah speaks of his terrible vision when the heavens opened up. The majesty of the full host of angels and God himself stood before him. Isaiah was awestruck and frightened. He cried out, "Woe is me, for I am undone, because I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." You see, Isaiah was a sinner just like the rest of us. Small, feeling insignificant, imperfect, before the full glory of heaven. He was terrified and shaken. But when the Lord asked, "Whom shall I send? Who will go for us?" Isaiah gathered his strength to stand and say, "I will. Here am I. Send me. Here am I. Send me." Sarah Mae Fleming wasn't looking for a fight. She wasn't looking for a cause. And she was not looking for history. History found her. She'd tell you that God called her. And she answered, "Here am I. Send me." We've been so blessed, brothers and sisters. The example of Miss Fleming, a name that many of you probably have heard for the very first time here today, is representative of so many people who laid the foundation that we stand on every single day, of seemingly ordinary people doing extraordinary things and laid the foundation for us to sit in this hotel room free from terror, bombs, and fire. Stand on our college campuses, sacred places, historic places, places for celebration, education, conversation, and communion. History makers whose names will never be in lights. I just wanted to raise that because I know so often we get caught up in whose names are being called out, who's getting credit for work being done. I want to tell you that the President of the United States, that the men and women who surround him are so thankful for each and every one of you in this room. The folks who do the work every single day, carrying the torch for those ancestors who laid the foundation for us and generations yet unborn. We know that titles don't make leaders. That service, understanding words like justice, love, respect, kindness, compassion, understand the power of a kind word. Each and every one of you in this room are carrying that torch every single day. And we wanted to come today just to say thank you for the work that you do. I believe that thank you are the two most important words in the English language. My wife tells me they're actually yes, ma'am. I still think that thank you. I came to thank you for sustaining this tradition of true servant leadership through our HBCUs and understanding the importance and embracing the importance of action going forward. For heroes like Sarah Mae Fleming, like Medgar Evers, and my heroes, the Honorable Matthew Perry, who was our version of Thurgood Marshall, for that sister who was a dishwasher at Booker Washington High School in Columbia, South Carolina. Worked hard all day long, but no matter how tired she was, she never missed an NAACP meeting. That brother, the shoe shine who fought Nazis in World War II and came home, never had the respect of being called sir. So a few opportunities, abundant indignities, and universal disrespect. You're carrying the torch for so many. I want to thank you for your leadership. These folks were looking for a fight, they were looking for a cause, so they paid the price, and each and every one of you is carrying that forward. Now I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be quiet and take my seat like I promised. The world needs you now more than ever. I live on this side, if some of you are familiar with the hat jack of politics and not politics. I'm a former mayor, so I understand the power of participating in an electoral process. This is a time that each and every one of us needs to stand up and make sure our voices are heard, make sure every single person that we know participates in this franchise that was purchased with blood. But as you do that, I want to encourage you to do something else that's very important, because we're not very good at it. Those of us who take care of everybody else don't do the very best job taking care of ourselves. All right? Life is like juggling balls. You have glass balls and you have rubber balls. Your glass balls, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health is one temple God gives you. Your spiritual health, your relationship with your maker, the relationship with your family and friends. If you hadn't told your mama or your child, that person who just takes care of you, how much you love them, polish that glass ball. Everything else is a rubber ball. It bounces back eventually. Y'all take care of yourselves while you take care of everyone else. Grab your mom and dad. Give them their flowers. Thank you. I love you. Share a meal. Say your prayers together. Make time for them. Make time for you. If you do that, everything else falls into place. On behalf of a grateful nation, on behalf of a truly moved president who left you here yesterday, and we had a full conversation afterwards, I want to say thank you for all you do. We got a lot more work to do. Let's go get it. When God says, who will go for us? Whom shall I send? Hopefully everybody in this room will say what? Send me. God bless y'all. All right?
Please welcome to the stage one of our amazing HBCU scholars, Aaron Armstrong.
Good morning. I am Aaron Armstrong, a senior health science major hailing from Nashville, Tennessee, and proudly representing the illustrious Tennessee State University. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing this morning's plenary session, the Administration and HBCUs. Our conversation today will be moderated by Dr. Glenda Glover, Vice Chair of the President's Board of Advisors on HBCUs and the 8th President of Tennessee State University. Under her leadership as the university's first female president, TSU experienced a significant increase in alumni and corporate giving, research funding, and academic offerings. The university has also received the Carnegie R2 High Research Activity designation with Dr. Glover at the helm. Joining Dr. Glover on the stage will be Dominique Harrison from the Department of Commerce and Stillman College President Yolanda Page. Bernadine Futrell from the Department of Education and Voorhees Center of Excellence for Educator Preparation and Innovation CEO Damira Hightower Mitchell. Rosalind Holliday Moore from the Department of Health and Human Services, and Morgan State University President David Wilson. And lastly, Roderick Chappell from NASA and Prairie View A&M University President Tamika Pickett LaGrande. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Aaron. Welcome to the administration's, can you hear me? Okay. An HBCU session. So yesterday, we heard President Biden talk about the $17 billion investment into the federal government made into the administration regarding HBCUs, $17 billion. So today we're going to dig a little deeper into those investments and talk a little bit more about what happened and what schools, what were received. But before we do that, I want to remind you today is National Voter Registration Day. And I'm here to encourage everyone to vote in the November 5th election. But don't wait until November 5th. Make that your backup date. Vote early and get it out the way. So we vote not to make history. We made history before. But we vote to protect the gains. We vote because too much is at stake. The stakes are too high. The gains that we've made over the years are up for grabs. So we must encourage others. I know I'm preaching to the choir. We must encourage others to go out and vote. Affirmative action, economic justice, educational justice, women's health care, women's health rights, voting rights are on the line. So we're asking everyone to understand what it means, to tell your friends, your family, your church members, your associates to go out and vote. Register first and then go vote. Now, what I was asked to do. To get us started, I want to turn to the Department of Commerce and Stillman College. So I want to just ask you, the Connecting Minority Communities that we have, the pilot program that will help to fund the 43 HBCUs to expand their broadband capability. Director Harrison, can you tell me a little bit more about that program, about the importance of the program, please?
Yes, sure thing. So good morning. The Biden and Harris administration has actually invested $90 billion to help close the digital divide. And one of those programs is the Connecting Minority Communities Pilot Program, which is a $268 million grant-making program for HBCUs, Hispanic-serving institutions, tribal colleges and universities, and minority-serving institutions. The funds have been used to provide internet access or upgrade the networks of institutions, along with purchasing equipment such as computers, iPads, or access points for the community or the students. And lastly, to train student, faculty, and community members in IT training and kind of technologies. We've seen our 93 grantees across the nation and territories do some remarkable work. The Office of Minority Broadband Initiatives, which I oversee, helps lead that work for the CMC pilot program. We have universities, which include some grantees up here, Stillman, Prairie View, and Morgan, who are doing such projects as providing telehealth services through their student-run clinics, who are also using funds to help students be engaged in STEM careers and education, K through 12 students. And we also have grantees who are training community members to be fiber technicians. I think one of the most remarkable things, especially in hearing some of the panels yesterday, is this, need and desire to do more innovative kind of projects, to be a part of the CHIPS program and such. Well, some universities are actually operating off of 3G networks, right? Outdated kind of services. And in order to engage in those kind of technologies and platform, you need to have 5G kind of bandwidth and capacity to be able to host those kinds of technologies. And so that is the kind of work that we're seeing our grantees do, and I'm really excited to hear more about how Stillman has used those funds to do their remarkable work.
Thank you so much. I want to turn to Stillman and just ask President Page. So Stillman College is one of the recipients of this grant. So how did your campus go about this? How did your campus go about just using this funding to enhance and help the students?
Well, first, I'd like to say good morning to everyone. And Stillman College is certainly fortunate to be able to address multiple areas through the receipt of this grant. I think I'll start first with as a segue from the comment about being able to update cabling. That was certainly the point at Stillman College. We've been able to replace approximately 12,000 feet of Ethernet cabling, which has allowed our college to be more connected. We've also been able to update our wireless infrastructure across campus. That has included the installation of wireless core controllers. We've been able to install 135 access points in 13 buildings across our campus. And we've also been able to create a network design that has allowed us to improve our bandwidth, our security, and our stability on our campus. As it relates to our students, we've been able to provide our students with access to Microsoft Pro computers. This has allowed our students to be able to function well in their courses because quite a few of our students come to our campus. They do not have technology as simple as that. So it has allowed them to be wired into their classes, particularly as we look to continue to grow our online program. We've also been able to invest in 2 new faculty roles, which has allowed us to be able to move towards doing some more innovative things in our classes. And then we've spent this past summer taking a look at our outdoor access. And so now that we've focused on the classroom, we're making sure that the outside of our college is connected.
Okay, good. So I was going to ask you what's been the impact, which you just gave the impact. So what has been how the students react, has been their reaction?
Well, the students, the faculty, and I will say their villages, their families have been very excited about these improvements because, as I mentioned earlier, it's about providing a sense of security to the campus with the security cameras. It's also about the fact that our students are able to have real-time access to some of the new inventions in, for example, AI, fintech, things like that have been important on our campus. It's also allowed us to be able to lay a foundation to develop our departments, particularly in cybersecurity. And then it's also allowed us to be able to increase our retention efforts because the fact that our students did not have access to some of the technology we found over the course of years was leading to some adverse impacts on our attrition. So we've seen our retention and our enrollment increase because of these updates.
Thank you. Back to you, Director Harrison. So what the future funding opportunities that HBCUs should look out for in the future?
Well, one I'll say is that for our grantees, their projects, the funding is for 2 years, and I'm hoping at the top of next year we can be working on some public-private partnerships to continue the sustainability of all of that great work. But I will tell you that there is a $1.25 billion grant program under the Digital Equity Act. There is a competitive grant program which is still receiving applications until next Monday, September 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time.
I want to stop you and ask you to tell me the name of that again so that
Yes,
we can all get that down.
It's the Digital Equity Competitive Grant Program. If you go to internetforall.gov, you will find more information about that grant funding program. But it is for stakeholders like yourself, along with other kinds of institutions, to help in expanding digital equity and also in digital literacy skill building for covered populations, one of which is communities of color, along with just impacted communities, those with disabilities, aging populations, veterans, et cetera. So again, application closes next Monday, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I would really encourage you to find out more information on that website, internetforall.gov, but to also check out your state's digital equity plan. Each state has a digital equity plan in terms of how they plan to address the digital divide, and you might find places in that plan where your institution can play a major part. But please reach out if you have any other questions about that funding program.
And do you encourage collaboration among the HBCUs as they apply for this grant?
Absolutely. I'll just give you a quick example. Chicago State and Northeastern Illinois University, I was there. They've had started a partnership amongst themselves and other nonprofit institutions to provide digital training in Chicago. And 2 different communities, one that was majority Hispanic and one African American. And it is because of that partnership that you can gain more funding, right, and being able to carry out the activities that are important for your students, but also the wider community.
Good. Thank you. I'm going to turn down to DOE, to the Department of Education. The Department of Education commitment to addressing the teacher shortage, teacher diversity, and improving student outcomes. That has been centered around HBCUs. So one of the programs that seeks to do this is your Teacher and School Leader Incentive Program. So I want to ask Deputy Assistant Secretary Futrell, can you tell me about that program, the purpose of the program, and the importance in raising the bar in education?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here. I'm going to take about 10 seconds and shout out the Upward Bound program at Virginia State University. Proud to be an alumni. All love, always there. Very excited to talk about some of the things that we've been doing as a part of the Biden-Harris administration to support educator diversity. When I came into the role, I came with kind of the perspective that HBCUs were the source for learning on how to prepare, support, and develop a robust educator workforce, specifically a diverse educator workforce. So we've been very intentional throughout the Biden-Harris administration in terms of like how we prioritize educator diversity, partnerships with HBCUs, to your point, in our discretionary grant programs, including our Teacher School Leader Incentive Program that we're going to talk a little bit about today. The TSL program is essentially it's a grant program that's designed to kind of overhaul the human capital management or the performance-based compensation system for a district. So there's, it used to be called the Teacher Incentive Fund, you know, like where you can get stipends and things like that to incentivize educators to work in high-need areas or areas where you may have a shortage in a particular district. So that's one. We also have the TQP, the Teacher Quality Partnership Program. We just announced during the Secretary's bus tour $28 million of new investments in that program, where we specifically prioritize educator diversity, partnering with institutions of higher education, including HBCUs, and incentivizing things like registered teacher apprenticeships, as well as dual enrollment programs. So our whole strategy has really been thinking how we can incentivize partnerships, how we can kind of create and be a catalyst so that the discretionary grants can start something and can build on it. And I'm very excited. We had a great chance to talk in the back about some of the ways that some of these grants, we called it blending and braiding, like blending this grant with that one. And, call us, as my colleague said, so we can help you navigate how to do that effectively so you can get the maximum impact with the discretionary grants.
Perfect. Superintendent Voorhees now, University. You have the Center for Excellence and for Educator Preparation. So I want you to tell me, preparation and innovation, can you tell me about that, because you received one of the awards. You received one of those grants through the program. So talk to us about the award, how you went about getting it, the award received, and how you are using it on your campus.
Gladly, and thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be here. I first need to bring greetings to you on behalf of Voorhees University and our president, Dr. Ronnie Hopkins. He could not be with you today, but he is working earnestly on behalf of Voorhees University, the HBCU community, and higher ed in general as we speak. So it is my privilege to represent him today. I am Demara Hightower Mitchell, CEO of the Center of Excellence for Educator Preparation and Innovation. That's quite a mouthful. That's its government name. So we affectionately have coined the term the EPI Center. And quite honestly, the EPI Center was established really born out of the historic commitment of Voorhees University to address teacher shortages. And so when we were established, it was the re-entry into teacher education and being serious about helping some of our rural schools with the struggles and the challenges they've had with staffing. And so it was established for that purpose. However, it ended up serving a broader purpose. So we started with a couple of grants, and then we moved it or changed it, if you will, and it evolved into an academic unit so that we could braid some of those resources as she just referenced. And then we evolved the academic unit, and it is now a separate 501c3 national nonprofit.
Great.
And I left the role as, thank you. And so I gave them back the role as provost. So I didn't share with you that I joined to start the center, and in a month I was the interim provost and vice president for academic affairs, and my president, who was the provost when he called me, was now the president. Now, I'm just gonna take a second and say, I know I am not special in that regard. If you are a leader or a faculty member at an HBCU and you don't have 2 or 3 roles, you are not having an authentic experience. And so for 3 years, I simultaneously served in both roles, and I was able to braid things. For instance, we were able to use our funding to establish the first master's degree ever at Voorhees University. It's a Master's of Education in Teaching and Learning. We've graduated 2 cohorts. Very proud of that. And my swan song as provost, because my last day as provost was May 15th, is that Voorhees is now SAC COC approved to offer a doctorate of education in educational leadership. And so we are proud of that. And the new provost and the president, of course, will carry on, but I get to go back to my first love, which is teacher education, and now I do that full time. So very quickly, I'll just say that the center, the TSL grant is one where we partner with 2 different districts, and we help them reimagine how they recruit, retain, train, and elevate the teachers in their pipelines. And so very concretely, things like bonuses for them to recruit, funds to address teachers who are struggling, funds to support brand new teachers in terms of induction, and funds to help with the career ladder for those so that they can retain their talent. So those are some examples of the things that we've done to support them. And it's not just funds, but we literally are a technical assistance provider and prepare them with coaching.
Good. Thank you. Y'all notice how she smiled when she said May 15th, she was done as provost. So I want to go back to Deputy Assistant Secretary for Child. Can you tell us any future funding opportunities that would come out of this for HBCUs, those who are present today?
Sure, thank you, and congratulations on the great success. This is an example of the model that we want to support and empower more to do. So the TSL, for example, is eligible for nonprofits, So you have a nonprofit that's running it in partnership with your university. We also have the other grants that are eligible. The eligibility is with the university. But what we've been doing, and what I would say kind of looking to the future, is two things. One, the discretionary grants, depending on the appropriation, will almost always run new competitions in those programs. So your SEED program, TQP, as I mentioned. TQP is literally, you can pay your teachers who are your teachers as well as your dual enrollment students. Like, you can use those funds for that. TSL, we talked about with the compensation systems. What we've been trying to do is prioritize in our discretionary grants working on educator diversity. So grants that may not have teacher in the title will also be grants that I want you all to look at, including the Education Innovation Research Grant is one of the largest discretionary grants at the department. We've prioritized educator diversity. They're a recipient of that grant. And then the other part, as we kind of wrap here, is looking at our formula funding. So forthcoming, we're going to issue some additional guidance on how states, universities can use the federal Title I, II, all of the title funding to support educator diversity. So you can kind of have a very specific thing to point to and figure out how to supplement and support some of the work that you're already doing so well and so excellently.
Good, thank you. We all know the importance of teacher education, because none of us are here today but for teachers. So we thank you, thank all of you. Let me move now to HHS. We know Black maternal health care is critically important. It's an issue that the Biden-Harris administration has been working on to address head-on, and we appreciate that. So who better to work on this issue than our nation's HBCUs? So eight HBCUs have received 9 awards. I think Morgan had got 2 of them through the Department of Health and Human Services. So I'm anxious to hear from you. Well, just hear about what's going on now. Deputy Director Moore, can you talk about these goals of these awards on maternal health and the research associated with this? It's collaborative.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for the opportunity to be here. And more importantly, thank you for underscoring the national imperative to address maternal health morbidity and mortality. Everyone in this room is called to action to address this national need, particularly for women of color, African American, Hispanic American, and Native women. I am pleased to be able to say on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services that we are leading the charge outlined by the White House to make sure we not only keep the forefront, the spotlight on this need, but also that we look internally and with you to identify new ways to address a long-standing problem. So I agree with you. There is no one better than those in this room and those you represent to help us resolve the challenge of making sure maternal health is not a point of despair, but a point of happiness and hope. So we have funded an amazing program, the Maternal Health Research Collaborative, funded by the Human Resources and Services Administration. It's a $10 million program, but it has a very unique design. It's a design that responded to feedback we've received, information that you have underscored, that partnership is key in how we do this work. It's not enough to fund one. So through this effort, there is a network of 17 grants going across minority-serving institutions, and those 17 grants include one coordinating center. You'll hear about that today. The design says in coordinating the 16, there's an opportunity for institutional mentorship, individual mentorship, but also a way to open up a door through virtual collaboration so that every institution can participate in this opportunity. So you may not have received the dollars, but it doesn't mean that you don't benefit from the learning. And it also means that we have the opportunity to benefit from your experiences. This coordinating center was awarded to Morgan State University. What a pleasure for us to be able to leverage that network. And I say a network because as a university, they represent many bright lights, scholars, leaders, thought leaders that we can benefit from. But it also allows us to position them to be forerunners in the research community. So as they are mentoring, they will be mentored by others who have gone this path, set stages for them to follow, but also identifying doors that they will be able to open. So it's my pleasure to share this platform this morning, and I know there are other questions.
Thank you.
But to help you learn more about the work that's happening through this network.
Thank you so much. President Wilson. Okay, so I'll write this down. President Wilson, not only was Morgan one of the recipients of this research funding, but you're also the hub. So tell us how Morgan's approaching this work.
Thank you very much, Dr. Glover, and thank you, Dr. Moore. First of all, Morgan State University is beyond appreciative of the high level of confidence that HHS has in us to be the coordinating center for this consortium. I am here this morning on behalf of our amazing researchers at Morgan who is leading this effort that is being overseen by Dr. Yvonne Bronner. So let me just say just a word or two about the university and why we feel that this is a great fit for us. We are now at 11,100 students at Morgan. That makes us the third largest HBCU in the country. We are a high research institution on our way to being a very high research university very soon.
Good.
And we like to say that we will dance on the penthouse with the R1s, but we don't aim to be like anyone who is already there, because we want our research to be research that will address in an authentic, comprehensive way issues of equity and inequity, disparities, marginalized communities, in a way that when we look across the landscape, with all due respect to all of the other high research institutions, we just don't think they're bringing those kind of perspectives. And so this past year, we wanted to thank the Biden-Harris administration for the investments that it has made in Morgan. We were able to win $88 million in new research grants. And this particular one is at the core of that. It is important for us because we also used a state-funded Center for Health Equity as leverage to bring home the partnership with HHS. And Dr. Glover, you may ask, well, why is this important? I tell you, I was just floored when I looked at the numbers as to what is actually happening in this space. And so when you look at the disparity right now with regard to these issues, for every 100,000 live births in our country, we have a mortality rate of 22.3 deaths, right, for every 100 live births. And then that was even higher during COVID. And so when I went to the initial gathering and all of the institutions came to Morgan, they delved deeper into this disparity and broke it down by race. And so for every 100,000 live births amongst black women, there are 49.5 deaths. And for whites, is 19%, if you will, and then 16.9 for every, not 19%, but 19, and then 16.9 for every 100,000 amongst Hispanics. And so the takeaway here is that this is a huge problem affecting black women, and they are more than 2.5 times more likely, if you will, to experience either infant mortality. And so this falls in line with the research mission at Morgan, and we are delighted to be able to lead this consortium of MSIs and HBCUs.
That's great. Thank you. I'm sure Morgan, as well as the other 7 HBCUs and all the HBCUs, will lead this effort to a more safe and healthy environment and community, especially for African Americans. We appreciate what you do in this regard. So I'm wondering if there's any other impact you want to give us about the surrounding community, what this award has had on it.
Just very briefly, we also, as you heard from Dr. Moore, we are involving our undergraduate students in this research. We have an entrepreneurial approach to research involvement on the part of undergraduate students. Of course, we have our PhD students and master students involved as well. But one of the benefits here is that we're involving students who are actually living in some of these areas where the high mortality rates are, and they're going back into those communities after graduation. So we want them to be fully informed, and we want them to be trainers and to go back and train the community as to how to eventually lower those rates. So we are seeing that, and we think as well that this will lead to even more successful collaborations across a variety of institutions, R1, more HBCUs, and more MSIs.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to you, to Morgan, as you continue your climb to become an R1 institution. So, before we go to NASA, I do want to ask, as I've asked the others, Director Moore, what other opportunities do we have for HBCUs, what they should be on the lookout for, that will be coming out through the pipeline?
Very important to be prepared and look forward to our new fiscal year, which starts October 1. So I encourage everyone to go on grants.gov now, look at what is forecast for the upcoming fiscal year. As of this morning, I found over 1,000 opportunities that have been forecast in the area of health through the Department of Health and Human Services that you would be eligible for. I did a filter only for institutions so that it wouldn't be a larger number, but in that space, most of the announcements were from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and from the National Institutes of Health. So those of you who are interested in research opportunities, as well as partnering with communities, because there are a number of programs that emphasize that collaborative framework. Now is the time to get ready to see what will be required, and we're always hopeful that we're going to have a budget to support what we've projected we'll be able to fund. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. All right, so let's move to NASA as our last part of the panel. So in addition to helping to sponsor the HBCU scholars to attend HBCU Week, NASA has been intentional in engaging HBCUs, engaging our institutions as research partners. The program that we'd like you to talk about, I want you to highlight, is the Data Science Equity, Access, and Priority in Research and Education Program. Wow. So, Dr. Roderick, will you talk to us about that program, the purpose of the program, its importance to NASA?
Okay. Good morning, you all. All right, so NASA does AI, so I'm going to give a shout out. So later today, there's going to be a discussion about NASA and AI and helping your sponsored research program. So you're invited to that. I think it's at 2 o'clock. So the DEEP program, so we don't say the long name, it's called DEEP. is an opportunity for HBCUs only. And the HBCUs are taking NASA data, and then they're leveraging that NASA data to be able to create ChatGPT-like discussions. So with the data, 8 HBCUs and their teams were brought together. They're working, and Dr. LeGrand will talk about how they're working together. But in the future, you're going to be able to do queries in a ChatGPT-like system that the schools are creating. That's going to allow you to see NASA data. So I don't know how many of you know, but NASA has a map that's real time across the world, and they're looking at how hot countries are, real time. So the schools have access to that data, they're leveraging that data, and they're going to create systems that allow you to query that data system.
Okay, good. So now I want to just ask one of our new presidents, I'm not sure if you're still new, Prairie View President Tamika LeGrand. I always get your name pronounced wrong, but you know I know you very well. But I wanted to ask you, so Prairie View was one of the 8 HBCUs to receive this award through DAP. So can you share with us Prairie View's, the way they started, how they went through this program through DAP, and what's been the impact of this award?
Absolutely. Good morning. I bring you all greetings from Prairie View, Texas, with our over 9,900 students at Prairie View. Our relationship with NASA goes back decades. So we are really excited about our participation in this DEEP program under Dr. Quinn, who is a faculty member in electrical engineering at Prairie View. He serves as the PI and the lead for this project for us, along with Texas Southern University and Texas A&M. And just like Roderick mentioned, we received $1.5 million to really develop a AI instant tool that would allow for individuals to query kind of the NASA database to learn more about Earth science information and space discoveries. Now, why is this important? When my team explained to me what this was, I said, I need you all to simplify this for me. I'm a chemist. And just like Roderick said, they said, think ChatGPT for space information. Think ChatGPT for individuals who know about NASA but don't understand the depth of information or knowledge that exists, or how it's relevant to their day-to-day lives. And think about how that brings accessibility to younger individuals to get them interested in science, engineering, and technology. And so that opportunity is exciting for us because it furthers our mission. Today, Prairie View ranks as the #2 producer of African Americans in engineering. And we know as a nation, we need even more, right? And so this is a way in which we can bring that information and accessibility to those populations. But I think even more exciting is that our students are participants in developing this new knowledge and research. Our undergraduate students and our graduate students are participating in this research, and that too helps further one of the goals of the grant, which is about broadening the participation of underrepresented minorities in this research to make sure that NASA data is much more accessible to increase the awareness of the general public.
Good, thank you.
You asked me about impact?
Yes, and I want to ask you the impact on the campus.
Real quickly, if I were to tell you what the impact has been on our campus for this grant, I would highlight 4 specific things. The first is I think it brings a positive return on the student experience. We all know that when students are engaged in high impact practices, they learn and retain knowledge better, right? But it also increases our competitive advantage as an institution because we have a marketable competitive asset that our students are participating in, undergraduate research at high levels. It increases retention, graduation, and job placement rates, and so we're excited about that. The second area is it helps us to ensure that our curriculum remains to be cutting edge, right? When your faculty are doing research, they are discovering new knowledge that they then bring into the classroom and create new courses. And so from this work, our faculty have created 2 new courses, an undergraduate course on machine learning for engineering applications and a graduate course, generative AI and foundation modeling. And so instantly that new knowledge is available to our students. The third area of impact is about strengthening our industry partner collaborations through our relationship with NASA. in very impactful ways. And so I'll give you one example. Our industry partner, Indiva. Indiva has provided training in artificial intelligence and data science to our faculty and students that has been very well received. We had 65 students participate in their deep learning certificate and earn that certificate. And so now we have 65 undergraduate students who are pursuing their baccalaureate degrees who now have an industry credential that instantly makes them marketable, right? And so our partnership with our industry partners helps us to do that. And lastly, like my colleague at Morgan State, Prairie View also is a Research 2 institution, right? With aspirations to move to more research intensity. And this grant, and so many other grants that the Biden-Harris administration has opened doors for us, helps us to expand our research capacity and capability. Because in a partnership with NASA, we not only have access to financial resources, we have access to their facilities. We have access to their researchers. And that expands our capability to be able to do deep and impactful research that is truly grounded in new perspectives and ideas that were not always at the table. And so we're so appreciative to NASA and our colleagues in the Biden-Harris administration for their gift.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Brother Roderick for a moment. You mentioned AI, and we're so happy that so many HBCUs have delved into the AI world. I'm happy to announce that Dr. Robbie Melton, who has been deemed one of the leading AI experts in the country, happens to be the provost at Tennessee State University, and she will be speaking at lunchtime. So we're happy that so many of us have taken this on because it's so necessary. This time, 10 years ago, it was coding. So now it's artificial intelligence, we're taking it on. So, Brother Roderick, what are some of the future funding opportunities? I've asked all the others. So, especially in the AI world and other opportunities that HBCUs should be on the lookout for.
Okay, so acronym again. So we heard DEEP and we heard DEEP used. We do have something called the MSI Exchange. And it is an opportunity for you to learn about upcoming opportunities that exist within NASA that are specifically for minority-serving institutions, including HBCUs. So msiexchange.nasa.gov. It is a part of our MUREP program, Minority University Research and Education Project. So if you go to the exchange, you can hear about opportunities that are coming up. But we've been busy over the years, so I'll just announce some of the things that have happened and some of the things that are coming. Our largest funding opportunity was called MIRO, another acronym, but it's $1 million a year for 5 years. So Florida A&M University was an awardee earlier this summer. They were one of 6 awardees. We had an announcement of M-Plan, it's our planning awards. 7 HBCUs of 25 were awarded. And so we have a list that you can see. On Thursday, we're going to announce our partnership awards with the National Science Foundation. So you can look for that announcement to come out Thursday afternoon. And then we do have a new opportunity that exists right now with our Earth Sciences Division. So if you are looking at land, water areas, it is called ESSR. We have an announcement and a session on Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So you can go to the MSI Exchange and learn about where to find that out. But that's a funding opportunity that's going to happen. And then we have an expected one to come out in about a month or two, which is targeting our Aeronautics Mission Directorate. So if you are an HBCU in a community and you know drones are going to be flying above your head sooner than later, you want to know the impact of that. So that new opportunity is going to be for those who are interested in understanding the impact of mobile air that's happening above and beyond you. So, and we do have a exhibit booth. You can learn about all of these things. You don't have to write anything down on the 4th floor. My team is here. And again, we'll be talking about AI later today.
Good, thank you very much. I have one last question I want to ask just the agencies, the 4 departments that we represent today. What are you doing anything in particular to encourage the small colleges, the smaller universities to participate? So I guess 1 or 2 of you can answer because we're out of time. What are your plans to assist smaller colleges? We have to build them up, increase their capacity.
I can start.
Okay.
For the Department of Education, we had a great roundtable last year with a lot of HBCU School of Education deans, and we were talking about our educator funding and some of the things that we've kind of implemented is being more intentional about planning, early implementation grants versus kind of your 5-year grants, so doing smaller grants to really help build capacity. We are also creating, and we'll be announcing at the end of this month, a new technical assistance center to support teacher diversity. Well, it's an educator technical assistance center, but it's going to have a line of work specific around teacher diversity that we're going to be able to help and support more kind of capacity building and information sharing at ed.
Good, thank you.
I have one also.
Okay.
So I mentioned M-Plan. M-Plan is $50,000, and that's to help you build a partnership with NASA. So the plan is for it to come out in February, Black History Month, and it allows you to spend 6 to 8 months with a NASA researcher learning how to do NASA. So you're learning how to write proposals, you're learning how to understand the system. So if you are interested in learning about NASA and MUREP, M-Plan is an opportunity for you, $50,000, and that's to spend time learning how to do things. So if you're a small school, that's definitely an opportunity for you.
Thank you. Let's thank our panelists and give them a round of applause as they exit the stage. They should exit the stage. Thank you very much. Thank you again. At this time, I'd like to introduce our 2024-2025 HBCU scholars, Layden Williams and Aaliyah Robinson, to close us out. Thank you very much.
Is it good? Okay. Greetings. I am Aaliyah Robinson, a senior majoring in biological science from Woodbury, New Jersey, representing the most diverse contemporary HBCU in the nation, Delaware State University. In June of this year, the National Science Foundation's annual survey found that federal obligations for science and engineering supported across all institutions increased 3% in the year of 2021 to 2022. However, support to HBCUs increased by 19% within that same time frame. The Biden and Harris administration commitment to strengthening HBCUs cannot be overstated. The administration has increased over $17 billion in federal funding to HBCUs, unlocking opportunities and supporting academic achievement. Thanks to President Biden and Vice President Harris, I was able to be funded through the National Science Foundation Research Initiative Award and the National Science Foundation iOS Neuronal Systems Award for the Delaware State University Summer Neuroscience Program. It is this funding that will allow me and my HBCU to continue to help build up strong researchers and creating more Black doctors in our community.
Good morning. I am Jaden Williams, born and raised in the great city of Stockbridge, Georgia, and I am evidence of what happens when government intentionally invests in the next generation of leaders. Now, a senior political science major from the exceptional Clark Atlanta University. I began as a young child of a single mother who fought for us, giving 24 years and still serving for the United States Air Force Reserve. As a proud HBCU student, I have to say thank you, because students like me, the Biden-Harris administration represents hope to incoming students as well as graduating students. The impact of this administration is beyond the forgiveness of student loans. It is a smart economic strategy, allowing benefactors of the student loan forgiveness program to purchase essential life items. We are the next entrepreneurs and investors. It strengthens the middle class. The next generation is ready to extend our world of learning to master and doctorate levels. Students like myself can experience building a new family, a new life, and strengthening our nation. We are watching the developing world, and we are ready to lead. We're welcoming the future undergirded by the relief of Biden-Harris administration, and we are preparing for future challenges. But on an even personal note, thanks to President Biden and Vice President Harris, nearly 5 million borrowers have received $170 billion in student debt relief. And because of that, student loan forgiveness has positively impacted my family, from my mom to my aunts and cousins, and we get to breathe a little bit easier knowing that student debt relief is a reality for all of us. The student loan forgiveness we relieve has truly changed our lives, and this is the story of one of millions of Americans across the country. Thanks to President Biden and Vice President Harris, we've understand that our investments as HBCU students yield a high rate of return for the next generation ready to lead. Thank you.